Hello. How do you start these things? Especially something called My Wife Joined a Cult. I thought of many other titles. I've thought of different methods to deal with this. I've thought a lot. It's a lot of contemplation, mindfulness, also consternation, resentment, anger. I've just been through all of it. It's like the stages of grief, because it's now my ex-wife. My wife joined a cult, and that's where things went. And hello, my name is Craig Shoemaker. I have to give some background. I always assume that people know because I've had a nice, beautiful career in show business, mostly stand-up comedy. A lot of people know me as the love master. So sometimes, though, I don't master the love thing. I certainly have given it a shot. Can't say that I haven't. This is not my first marriage. We'll get to all of it. I'm going to tell you a story, and I'd like to state my intentions first because a lot of me is about being honest and transparent. I think that's what made me a good stand-up. And transparent-wise, I already recorded episode 1. I sent it to some people along with 2 other episodes that they loved. And the first one they didn't love as much because I didn't set up the story. And that's what I'm going to do here with intention. And the intention is always been a solution guy since day one. I make fun of myself in my act. I've done rescuing since I was a kid. My dad left when I was born. Something I said, wah, and then became the man of the house. And this was a real process from day one, minute one, looking for something outside of myself to fulfill this longing inside of me that existed from the get. And so a lot of this is going to be process. A lot of this will be discovery, my own discoveries, and the rumbles, stumbles, fumbles, crumbles, and fumbles and tumbles. All of it. And the hope would be, as it always is, I was always trying to fix my mom up with, tell stories about, I'll open up with one of them. I used to collect baseball cards. And one of my mom married so bad because my dad, I thought his name was doesn't pay the child support. I thought that was his name. I mean, she constantly talked about that. And he really wasn't there very much. And here's the irony, by the way. He became a cult leader. He ran a cult called Pocono Adventures on Mules. By the way, part of the problem with being a comic is, is he making this up? I actually don't even talk about my dad in my act all these years because it's such a crazy story. And my life remained crazy, apparently. I don't know. Is it my destiny? Is it my karma? Is it my karma from a past life or this life? I don't know. We'll question these things. We'll get to it. But it's a story I think that needs to be told for a lot of reasons. Maybe people also share the abandonment that I felt growing up and the need to fulfill this something inside of me to fill that hole. I mean, a lot of people go through certain things in their lives. Some people ignore it. Some people don't. Seems like they don't even have issues. And I've got a lot of shoes. So the journey will be about, I believe, one of my intentions is that someone steps in and helps our children get their mom back. I mean, it's 50-50 custody and all that, but she's gone. The person that I fell in love with, that had these beautiful children with, is gone. And it's the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. I've been through tragedies in my life. I've had really difficult things. I was kidnapped when I was a kid by a serial pedophile. I was beaten. Drugs and alcohol and theft and so many things that I've been through. One thing I am is resilient, though. Made it through all of it, including a divorce before, which had 2 children with that, and she came after me with everything she had, and that really blew up a lot of lives. That desire to really take me down, and that was that's a whole other book. But in this one, I don't know if there's. I guess I could have hope that someone might listen, like a friend of hers, and step in and say, "Hey, wake up, wake up! You need to move away from this person that has you, this person that brainwashed you." We're going to call her the person. I don't want to get sued. I'll get into that later, but we're going to call her broke because that's what you'll end up to be if you deal with her. And we'll call my ex-wife, we'll call her Lotus because that's her new name that she has now. Yeah, Lotus. It's all part of it. And Lotus and I began our journey together as friends. I was trying to actually deal with my ex-wife at the time, wife before, who, was, really some very, very hard stuff to deal with, accusations and allegations. It was just a nightmare. I still held on to 50% custody, but that was not easy. And it cost me, it cost emotionally, spiritually, it cost financially. It was really, really a train wreck from someone that just could not deal with her own stuff. And I think that's the case here. I'm not going to be a clinician. I'm going to tell you some facts and some speculation in what things could be, but that's what they are. And I'll name some things as just fact, and you can decide for yourself. Or one of the things that really bothers me about her is she would never seek help or a diagnosis for any of the things that were happening, which was a lot. Really bothersome how someone can just be that arrogant, narcissistic to believe that you have no issues to take care of with a professional. Now, she goes to people. We'll get to that. I'm going to do a lot of, we'll get to that. Just put the kids to bed. And I just wanted to come in here and share this journey, share this story with you with hope. Someone might step in. The speculation is it alien possession? Is it demonic possession? Is it menopause? Is it midlife crisis? Is it bipolar? She has 2 brothers who committed suicide within 3 weeks of one another. And it's actually how we met. I was at this Agape Spiritual Center. I've been going for years to get, to me, everything in life, in success. And I've had a lot of success in life with the relationships and business and so forth. I've had a ton of awards and rewards and beautiful friendships, long lasting, from kindergarten, a television show with a guy from 3rd grade. I mean, I really stay connected with people, and it's one of the reasons why I think our family has benefited from this as well. There's a worldliness that I passed on to the kids, intelligence, spirituality, intuitive sense, gratitude. That's a real big one we've done at the dinner table since all the kids were little. And this was my goal, was to bring these values. And I get these values a lot from Agape. I mean, I learn a lot about higher source, higher power, love, light, levity, whatever it is. That's what I teach when I coach, is love, light, and love. We're all born that way. That's what we have, this potency that wishes to be released. And I was there to deal with, at the time, my very difficult situation with just accusing me. I remember had my son, he was a baby, and he was screaming at colic, and she comes down, "What are you doing to him?" Like, oh, that's where it started. And it got sick from there, just sick. And I must tell you, all throughout this story, that being a big white guy is not easy. I'm not trying to play victim ever, but that's the deal, is people are going to assume, even you listening now, some people are going to listen and go, "Oh, listen to this guy. He's got to be guilty of something," or whatever it is. And I understand that those assumptions are going to take place, especially being a guy who's got a voice, and people say, "Well, she doesn't have a voice." Well, she does, and she's used her voice quite a bit on social media. And so I'm at Agape, and we're taking courses. These were certified courses in spirituality. And there she was, Lotus. And we became friends, talked in the parking lot, a lot of philosophical stuff. This is probably about 23 years ago, 22 years ago or so. And then I would take my son there on a Sunday, and that was at night. I'd take my son there, and so she knew my son a little bit. Had opinions about our relationship. I remember that. And she's just this really peaceful, beautiful person, Lotus. And it was like this connectedness that we had. She lived in a tree house with no, I mean, she had to go to the bathroom like 40 yards away in the woods, Topanga, and seemed to really love it. That was her choice. But she was there to deal with the trauma of these two brothers that committed suicide within 3 weeks of one another. So, which has to do with my concern about mental illness being possibly passed on. And I don't know what that mental illness is, but obviously that's what takes place if you have people that take their own lives and add to that pride. And they're from Japan. And I'm not being racist when I tell you this, but she's the one that said in the beginning when we are certainly getting along, there's a certain pride that takes place, a stubbornness with that culture. But it didn't come into play. We were just friends. And when I got divorced, we're on our way there one night, actually, as friends. And it was a nighttime service. And we stopped for sushi. And that was it. That was the day, for sure, a major bolt of love. I was particularly fascinated and fell for. It had been New Year's. It was about 17, 18 years ago. It was New Year's. And I said, "What'd you do?" And I'm not a big party reveler. I don't drink anymore for many years. And I was really taken by her journey when she said that she searched for the sunrise, for the nicest sunrise on the mountain. And she hiked like at 4 a.m. in the dark. And she also cleaned her place. She had a little cabin. And she cleaned her place. And I remember her talking about this, and I was just so fascinated by her. So, I just felt such an intimacy and a closeness. We were friends, but it was very casual. But this was it. And I remember I said, she says to me at the end of we didn't end up at Agape. We ended up this great conversation. I looked up and there was this huge game, one of the most historic games in college football history was going on the television, I recall. And I didn't care. That's how enthralled I was with her. I was just listening and really paying attention to who this person is. And I fell in love. And that night made fun of ourselves, or I made fun of myself where we ended up. I was started to go over options because I was newly single. I was pretty newly single, and I'm not very good at dating. I was there, "Hey, you want to go back to my place?" She's like, "What?" Watch a movie. And I said, "Why don't we go to the movies?" So we ended up going to the movies, this really dark movie. I think it was called Syriana. And went for a walk on the beach. And I think I got her to love me because she was about to trip over a puddle, and I grabbed her. And that was her moment. We both had those moments that night. And this is the key to my opinion is, and I believe we had a great marriage. I think the key is to see the person for who they truly are, and they see you for who you truly are. And I truly, no matter what people think about me or whatever, everybody has their opinions. I know in a non-cocky, arrogant, egotistical way, I know I'm a really great person with a giant heart, with the mistakes and everything else. But that's who I am. And she saw that.